Today we'll be speaking about why the rain is greater miracle than revival of the dead. Isn't that strange? You would ask me. I would say revival of the dead is a bigger miracle. We just prayed for rain Thursday night, right? And Baruch Hashem, God answered our call immediately. Baruch Hashem, that's a good sign, right? And we have a good connection, especially in Israel. When you speak to God here, it's a local call, right? In Borough Park, it's a long distance call. Here, it's a local call, right? So everyone have a paper? Rivka, you have one? So let's take a look. Why is rain a greater miracle than revival of the dead? You would ask me, I would say, revival of the dead. But first of all, the importance of rain. You see source number 1. The Mishnah Masechta Brochot tells us, Alak Shamim, you hear, on the first rain in Eretz Yisrael, V'al Basura Tovot, and you hear good tidings. You won the lottery on the first rain, you make a Baruch HaTov HaMeitiv. God is good and He does good. Well, Shmuel is Rosh, God forbid, for a bad tiding, you make Dayan Emet. But you see, the Mishnah Bracha says, when it begins to rain, the first heavy rain, we haven't had that yet, had we? Well, let's take a look. What kind of rain? You're supposed to make either a Tov HaMeitiv or a Shechiyanu, if you really feel happy about it, okay? Now, what kind of rain do you make a bracha on? Not any rain. Source number 2. This is from Masechta Tanit. Omer Ravu Meimesai Mevorchen Alak Shamim. What type of rain do they have to meet to make a bracha? Mishayetza Chosan Likras Kala. When the Chosan goes to greet the Kala. What does that got to do with rain? When the Chosan goes to greet the Kala. So what? Okay. So what does that mean? So look at source number 3. What does the Chosan Kala got to do with rain? So we would say when it rains cats and dogs, Cecil. We would say when it rains cats and dogs, I don't know why they say that, but then you're supposed to make a bracha, either a Tov HaMeitiv or you're supposed to make what? A Shechiyanu. So look at source number 3. You mind giving the lady a source sheet? There's an extra one here. Yeah. Akasha? Okay. So what does it mean when the Chosan dances with the Kala? So source number 3, Rashi said, Masechta Tainit, Meimesai Mevorchen Alak Shamim, Beperik Haroy Amrinan Alak Shama Tov HaMeitiv. So today, instead of a Tov HaMeitiv, we have Shechiyanu. It's very similar. What type of rain do you make a Shechiyanu on? Chosan Likras Kala. So the Gemara says when the Chosan goes to greet the Kala, so that's just a metaphor. What does it mean? Sheyardu kol kach, the rain is so intense or heavy, shekeshatafa noifeles yoitza acheres v'letas kenegda. That means that what? The rain dances, like the Chosan dances for the Kala. So there has to be a heavy dancing rain. If that's type of rain, then you have to what? Make a bracha if you're happy about it. If you don't care, it's a blessing in vain. But if the first rain makes you happy, and it should make you happy, especially living in Eretz Yisrael, we'll see why it should make you happy. We'll see why. So you make a Shechiyanu. Okay? What? Yeah, you can pick. HaTov HaMeitiv or a Shechiyanu. It's either or, not both. It's either a Tov HaMeitiv, but today most people make a Shechiyanu if they're happy about it. You can make a Tov HaMeitiv. God is good and He does good. But the more common bracha is what? A Shechiyanu. Okay, now, because that's a good tiding. We'll see why it's a good tiding. Well, if you're a farmer, it's obvious why it's a good tiding. But let's say you're not a farmer. You never saw a farm, so why should you care? We'll see why it's a good tiding for everybody. You look at source number 4. Masechta Brachot, Omer Yehuda Omer Rav, Arba Tzrichen Lahodot. 4 categories of people have to what? Praise God. So in the days of the temple, you brought a what? A korban todah, todah rabbah. Today, instead of a korban todah, what do? Make a berchat hagomel. Berchat hagomel you make. You're blessing God, right? For saving you. But in days of the temple, you would bring a korban todah. What does a korban todah mean, Al Sheva? A thank you offering. Korban Todah is a thank you offering. Today we ain't got a temple, so we make a Berchet HaGomel. Korban Todah is very strange. It's the only korban that you bring chometz and matzah with it. You know, other korbanot is accompanied by what? By flour, by matzah. Korban Todah is the only sacrifice that you bring. But Shavuos is the Shtei Alechem, that's a Korban Tzibur. The Korban Yochid, that the Shtei Alechem, you're right, Yehuda, that's a Korban Tzibur. So you bring 2 loaves of bread. But the Korban Yochid, individual Korban, the only one where you bring both Chometz and Matzah is what? Korban Todah. Todah Rabbah. Maddie, why? We know, Pi Kabbalah, Chometz represents the Yetzer Hara. Chometz is it's the leaven. You know, the yeast, you're puffed up, you're arrogant. That's the Yetzer Hara. A person sins because he feels puffed up. He's full of himself. You know, he's arrogant. That's the symbol of Chometz, the Yetzer Hara. Matzah is what? Flat, low. It's a symbol of what? Of the Yetzer Tov. Matzah, man. You don't got to be low, not puffed up, not full of yourself, not arrogant. So Chometz, a Kabbalah, the Ariya Kodesh says, Chometz represents the Yetzer Hara, and Matzah represents what? The Yetzer HaTov. So Korban Todah, you're thanking God with the Matzah, which represents what? The Yetzer Tov, and you're also thanking God with the Chometz, which represents what? The Yetzer Hara. Why am I thanking God for the evil inclination?
Oh, because it's without the evil inclination, there'd be no children.
Beautiful, Mikimia. Oh, Mikimia, you're cooking with gas. Without the evil inclination, nobody want to get married and make babies. They're very expensive, and they're also very selfish, right? And they're inconvenient. So they're very cute, right? But some are not so cute. But anyway, Mikimia said, you thank God for the Yetzer Hara, which is symbolized by the Chometz with the Korban Todah, because without the Yetzer Hara, nobody would want to get married and what? And make babies. Isn't that incredible? And the Malbim says something incredible.
You wouldn't have a choice if you didn't have a Yetzer Hara.
Okay.
You have freedom of choice.
That's right. You wouldn't have a choice, but no one would want to get married and make children. And we know without children, right? The purpose of what? Of God. Who's the Torah going to be kept if there's no children? And the Malbim says something incredible. Why does the Torah keep pointing out that the mothers of Israel were all 10? Remember the movie 10? 10 plus. Yes. All of the Rivka and Rachel, and it says all of them, Yefas Toa, Yefas Mare Ma'od. Each of them was what? Gorgeous. Ma'od. Doesn't say just good looking, you, that says Ma'od. But anyway, let's look at source number 6. Source number, a very strange statement in the Talmud, Masechta Tanit, source number 6. You see that? Omer Rabavua, Godol Yom HaGshamim Mitchiat HaMeitim. When it rains in Israel, it's a greater miracle than what? Than Tchiat HaMeitim. Why is that? Resurrection of the dead. The Ilu B'Tchiat HaMeitim, how do I know? Because revival of the dead will only help the tzaddikim. The wicked will not get revived. Only the tzaddikim. Vilu Gishamim, but when it rains, Bein tzaddikim, bein rishayim. When it rains, not just the righteous benefit, the wicked benefit. Resurrection of the dead will not benefit the wicked, only the righteous. But when it rains, the righteous benefit and the wicked benefit as well. And therefore, it's what? Even a greater miracle. So we have to appreciate it. When we see it rain, we have to remember that it's what? A greater nest than Tchiat HaMeitim. Look at source number 7. This is a Masechta Tanit again. Omer Rav Yehuda, Godol Yom HaGshamim ki Yom shenitna bo Torah. Do you believe this, Chava? When it rains in Pisgat Zev, or in Kiryat Moshe, it's as great as when the Torah was given. Yiddish? Look at source number 8. Omer Rav Chama bar Chanina, God lo yoim akshamim ki yom shenivru shemayim v'aretz. When it rains, it's as a great a miracle as when God created heaven and earth. Now, many people can relate to that.
Some people say they get too much sauce.
Now look at source number 9. Source number 9. Rabbi Yochanan, God lo yoim akshamim ki yoim kibbutz goliot. When it rains, it's a great miracle like the day of the final redemption. The question is why? Why? Why is that? And why is rain a greater miracle than the revival of the dead? So the Talmud gives one answer, right? But I want to give another answer. The revival of the dead didn't happen yet. Did it? Stay tuned. But rain is constant. It's always, from the beginning of time, it's always been raining. So it's unlike the revival of the dead, which didn't happen yet. Rain is constant. It's a symbol of God's continuing shefa. How do you say shefa in English? Flow. Abundance. 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 It's a symbol of God's shefa, abundance, of non-stop chesed. And just like, so what's the connection with source number 7, Chava? It's as great, the rainy days as great as giving of the Torah. What's the connection? Just like the body cannot live without what? Water. The soul can't live without the waters of Torah.
That's right.
So, the guf cannot live without water, which is a symbol of rain. But the neshama can't live without what? The water of Torah. There are a lot of walking zombies out there. Remember Night of the Living Dead? Now, the very first prayer by the very first human being was what? The first prayer that the first human being ever said. If you look in Pashas Bereshis, singing in the rain. Pashas Bereshis, the Torah says, Ki lo himtir Hashem al Lord. God created the world, but before mankind arrived, Ki lo himtir Hashem al Oretz. God did not make it rain. You don't have this on your sheets. Why? So the Torah says, why didn't God make it rain? The earth was complete, but there was no rain. So, V'adam ayin, because the Torah says, V'adam ayin lavot et adama. There was no human being to work the ground. So therefore there was no rain. What does A got to do with B? So Rashi says, V'lama lo himtir, just because there was no human being yet, why did God not make it rain? Says Rashi in Bereshis in the beginning, Lefi she'adam ayin lavot adama. Since there was no human being to work the land, ve'ein makir b'tov shel geshamim, and there was no one to acknowledge, to recognize the benefit of what? Rain. Ukeshaba adam, and when the human being made the scene, v'yoda, and he knew. Tony the tiger doesn't know the benefit of rain. Remember Tony the tiger? The human being knew Shem tzorech la'olam. He knew that the world could not exist without what? Rain. Hit palel. So the first prayer said by the first human being was Tfilas Geshem. You have to wait to Shmini Atzeres, right, Chava? The first human being was created when? On Rosh Hashanah. I get big chidush. So we say Tfilas Geshem Yehuda when? On Shmini Atzeres. The first human being said Tfilas Geshem when? On Rosh Hashanah, because that's the day Adam was created. He was created on Rosh Hashanah, and the first tefillah was Tfilas Geshem. That's the importance of rain.
Nobody had to go home from the mountain that time, so nobody was going to get wet.
Right.
There was no problem.
So remember, the first prayer on Rosh Hashanah was Tfilas Geshem, according to Rashi in Chumash. Now, we know Hebrew has no synonyms, right? How do you say rain in Hebrew? Geshem, but you also say matar. There are no synonyms in Hebrew. You ask an Ulpan teacher, she'll say it's a synonym. But we know there are no synonyms. So, ma hevdel ben geshel and matar. Pashas Noach tells us. It says, Vahi geshem al haaretz. When the rain is still in the sky, or the heaven is called what? Matar. Vahi hageshem al haaretz. The Torah says in Pashas Noach, when the rain hit the ground, then it be called what? Geshem. The word Gashmius comes from the word Geshem. Vahi hageshem al haaretz. The Geshem makes Gashmius what? Possible. How do you say Gashmius? Materialism. Materialism, right? Rain is... Right? Without Geshem, there's no Gashmi, there's no materialism. Without rain, nothing grows. There's no materialism. Rain is the tangible, physical symbol of Hashem's Shefa. It's the manifestation of God's divine goodness or divine abundance. That's why rain is so important. It's a tangible symbol of God's flowing kindness to the world. And the wicked benefit just as much as the righteous. Okay? So, if the Gemara in Tainus tells us, you don't have it on your sheets, there are 3 keys that God never handed over to a shliach. God chooses to run the world through heavenly ministers called angels. Agents, secret agents, angels. He chooses, he doesn't have to. But there are 3 keys that he doesn't hand over to an agent. The Gemara in Tainus, page 2. The mafteach shel chaya, the key to childbirth. Mafteach shel geshem, the key to rain. Umafteach tatchiyat hamesim. Those 3 keys God does not hand over to a messenger. He keeps them for himself.
What's the third one?
The Bible of the Dead. The key to childbirth. The key to childbirth, the key to rain, and the key to what? Tchiyat HaMeitim. Now, the key of Geshem, we said the word Gashmius. Gashmius is a symbol of Parnasa. Yeah. A person's Parnasa, his Gashmius, that is not handed over to an agent. That is controlled by God directly. So the 3 keys are the childbirth, the key to rain, which is Gashmius Parnasa, and also the key to what? To Tchiyat HaMeitim, revival of the dead. Resurrection of the dead. So Tosfos right away there on Tainus asked the question. We see that Eliyahu Navi revived the dead, Elisha revived the dead, Ezekiel, the valley of the dry bones. What is the Gemara saying? That the resurrection of the dead, God never hands over to an agent, when in fact he did. Eliyahu, Elisha, and Yechezkel. Didn't they revive the dead?
They weren't angels.
Malach, you see, good question, Elisheva. The word malach does not mean an angel.
Oh.
It means messenger.
It means messenger.
Oh.
It could mean a human messenger or a heavenly messenger. So the Talmud says that the key to revival of the dead, he doesn't hand over to any messenger, human or angel. So the Tosfos says it ain't so. Ezekiel, Elisha, and Eliyahu were human agents. So Tosfos answers what the Talmud means, that he doesn't hand it over permanently. So he gave it to Yechezkel and Elisha and Eliyahu Navi in a one-time deal, and he said, give it back. Okay? So permanently he doesn't hand over these keys to what? To an agent. But on a temporary basis he does hand over the key to revival of the dead, as he did to Yechezkel, Elisha, and Eliyahu. But then he took it back. The question is, the rest of the time, other factors, God chooses to run the world through messengers. The question is why, Elisheva? A human king can't handle the workload. So he needs what? Helpers, messengers. Kodesh Baruch Hu, you know, he's all-powerful, all-knowing. Why does he choose to run the world through what? Messengers. We call them angels. So the Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim explains, right? I'll put it in my language. I once went to Buckingham Palace, and I was in England in 1970 for a Shabbos, and I was very impressed. I saw the honor guard there. It really impressed me. It increased my awe for the Queen. So Maimonides says it's human nature. When a king is surrounded by a huge honor guard, it increases your awe and respect for the king. So therefore, God chooses to run the world through angels. Not that he needs them. It's for not his benefit, our benefit. Our benefit. When we know he's surrounded by who knows how many hundreds of thousands or millions of an honor guard that we call malachim, it increases my yirat shemayim and ahavas Hashem. So it's not for God's benefit, he can handle the workload. It's for my benefit, says Maimonides and Moreh Nevuchim, to increase my awe and respect and honor of the king, because that's human nature. Now, we take rain for granted. We shouldn't, right? But it should make us very happy. If you look at source number 11, the Ramban, this is a key factor in the Jewish religion, source number 11, Min hanisim hagedolim hamefursamim, says Maimonides, from the open and revealed supernatural miracles, Adam modeh, a person admits, b'nisim hanistarim, in the hidden miracles, shehem yisad ha-Torah kula. The foundation of the entire Torah is not the supernatural miracle of splitting of the Red Sea, it's the hidden miracle. What's a hidden miracle? Rain. Or sunrise, sunset. That's the Yesod HaTorah. Listen what he says. She'ein la'adam chelek b'Torah's Moshe Rabbeinu. A person does not have any share in the Torah of Moshe ad she'namin, until he believes b'chol devareinu she'kulam nisim ein boi teva. There is no such thing, Chava, as nature. Nature is only a facade. How do you say in English, a facade? A disguise, a mask. Yeah, underline the Chav, it's underlined. Shekulam nisim ein bahem teva. What we call nature is really what? Hashem. And therefore, Elohim in Hebrew is the gematria hateva, Danish. The word Elohim in Hebrew has the same gematria as hateva, 86. Because what we call nature is really what? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Isn't it? So, Maimonides is telling us that sunrise and sunset and let it rain, let it rain, let it rain, or singing in the rain is a greater miracle than what? Splitting of the Red Sea. You would ask me, I'd say splitting of the Red Sea is a greater miracle. But Nachmanides says no. Splitting of the Red Sea happened once in 6,000 years. But sunrise and sunset and rain happens all the time. So it's a greater miracle because it keeps repeating itself. Human nature is that you become what's the word, used to it? You become fachadet. How do you say fachadet in English? Confused, right? You become desensitized. Can you imagine, Shirley, if the sun would rise and set once in 100 years? Can you imagine the excitement, Fox News and CNN? The sun is rising after 100 years. The sun is setting after 100 years. I'm so excited. You'd be excited. But just because it happens every day, it's more miraculous. And yet what? We take it for granted. And the challenge is not to take it for granted. To appreciate rain and sunrise and sunset as much as splitting of the Red Sea. And even more, the Red Sea only split once in 6,000 years. But rain and sunrise, sunset happens all day. A magnificent sunrise, Danish, you see a magnificent sunrise or a sunset, you should be awed, not turn the page. What? The land of the midnight sun. Where's that? Somewhere in Norwegia? In Norway? Yeah, land of the midnight sun, right, Avram? So when you see, we'll always have, right? So, the tafkid of a Jew is to train himself to whatever he thinks his nature is really HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore, the great Kabbalists were nature lovers. Because Maimonides says, in order to be madly in love with the one above, you have to be a nature lover. Starry, starry night, right? Da 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 da.
Well, you see the magnificence of God.
In nature, Maimonides says a person that doesn't study nature cannot really truly be madly in love with the one above. And the tafkid of a human being is to be madly in love with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the highest calling in life. So we have to sensitize ourselves to be excited, right? To be enthusiastic about being alive and appreciating what? God's shefa, His goodness. And therefore, the rabbis came up with the bracha. Before you eat an apple or an orange, right? You're supposed to stop and make a bracha. What are you supposed to think about? You see that red apple, Chava. Look at that shiny red apple. Gee, that's a masterpiece. Or an orange, or a granny apple. What? What an artist Hashem is. Of course, okay. But at the Berchet Hanenin, right, to appreciate how Kodesh Baruch Hu made everything so delicious. All food, each one has its unique taste, aroma, smell, and each one comes packaged. A shiny red apple, or a granny apple, or an orange avocado. It's gift wrapped. A banana. It's gift wrapped. Why did God have to do that for? He could have made all food taste like castor oil. And I'd still eat it because I need the minerals and the vitamins. Or everything could have tasted like a potato. And I'd still eat it, Shelley. So why did God have to bother to give each food its individual taste and smell? And gift wrapped. You know why He did that? Because He loves us. So when you make a bracha, you're supposed to stop and think. Look at that delicious they're called delicious apples. Or granny apples. Look how much Hashem loves me. He made that only for me. How do I know? The Mishnah in Sanhedrin 37 says, Bishvili nivre olam, Rachmiel. That delicious shiny red apple was made not for Moshe Rabbeinu, not for the Vilna Gaon, for whom? Me. The Mishnah in Sanhedrin, page 37. That's what you're supposed to have in mind when you make a bracha. Yes? It's like you're stealing from Hashem. That's right. It's like you're stealing from...
And you spend 20 minutes meditating on each piece that you eat, you'll eat less.
That's right. You'll eat less and you won't be so fat. You're beautiful. The rabbis say meditate first, you'll eat less. And then you won't need any diet pills. Right? Yes?
Why does it make such a big issue of Geshem compared to the most important miracles that we know? You could take anything to compare it. So why Dafka is he taking Geshem?
Because without Geshem, there's no Gashmiut. Same word, Cecil. Without Geshem, there is no materialism. There's no physical world without Geshem. There's no Gashmiut without Geshem. So therefore, when it hits the ground, it's called Geshem. In the sky, it's called Matar. Because without that, there is no world. That's the symbol of God's Shefa. So you're supposed to make a bracha. At the first heavy dancing rain, you're supposed to make a Shechiyanu. That's called Berchat what? Shevach v'Haidayah. There are 3 categories of brachas. There are 7 rabbinic mitzvahs, and one of them is to make a bracha. But the category of bracha that the rabbis came up with, the only Torah bracha, Chava, is Birchat HaTorah and Birchat HaMazon. But all the other brachas is a rabbinic invention to make you stop and think of Hashem's goodness. But the mitzvah of bracha, one of the 7 rabbinic mitzvahs, what are they? Number 1 is to make brachas. Number 2 is to light Shabbos candles, right? Number 3 is Netilas Yadayim. Number 4 is to say Hallel. Number 5 is to make an Erev. Number 6 is Purim. And the last of the rabbinic mitzvahs is to light Chanukah candles. That's the last. Hanukkah candles. So the first rabbinic mitzvah is to make brachas. That was made up by Shlomo HaMelech's Bezdin, Mikimia. Now, brachas is divided into 3 categories. There's berchat ha-mitzvah, there's berchat shevach v'haydaya, and there's berchat hanenin. The rabbinic mitzvah of bracha is divided into 3 categories. Last night, we did Kiddush Lavana. We're not moon worshippers. What did we do? Berchat shevach v'haydaya. We praised God for the moon, for the waxing and waning of the moon. We don't worship the moon. Therefore, right after Kiddush Lavana, we say Aleinu Shabeach. We already said it. Why do you say it again? Reb Shalom, why do you say it again? You said Aleinu. The Magen Avraham says after Kiddush Lavana, you repeat Aleinu Shabeach. V'anachnu koyrim shtachim lifnei melech malchei amlachim. We're not worshiping the moon. We're worshiping HaKadosh Baruch Hu for creating the moon. So don't get mixed up. So after Kiddush Lavana, you do Aleinu. But that's Berchat Shevach V'Haydaya. How do you say that in English? Praising and thanking God for what? For the moon. When you see the Grand Canyon, or the Swiss Alps, or a shooting star, or the Grand Canyon, or what? You're supposed to make Oseh Maaseh Bereishis. That's Berchat Shevach V'Haydaya. That's praising God for His what? Beautiful, spectacular creation. Okay? So that's Berchat Shevach, the Kiddush Lavana, Berchat Lavana, and shooting star, and lightning and thunder.
No, thunder is a different one.
It's Berchat Shevach V'Haydaya. But it's all Shevach V'Haydaya, Rivka. Even though it's a different bracha, but it's under the heading of Shevach V'Haydaya. Praising, in a rainbow, beautiful. Zoicher Abris, that's Shevach V'Haydaya. Praising and thanking God for His beautiful natural phenomena. So that's the category called what? Berchat Shevach V'Haydaya. What's the next? Berchat Hanenin. How do you say that in English?
Enjoyment.
Enjoyment. Right? You can't enjoy this world without making a bracha. It's like you're stealing from God, right? You smell a delicious rose, right? You're supposed to make a bracha. Or flowers. 1 minute. The bracha for a king, that's Shevach V'Haydaya. That God gave part of His glory to a human being. That's Berchat Shevach V'Haydaya. Praising God that He's willing to give part of His what? Glory to a human of flesh and blood. But now we're talking about Hanenin. Before you eat and before you smell a delicious flower, you're supposed to make a bracha. That's Berchat Hanenin. Okay? And then there's Berchat HaMitzvah. Berchat HaMitzvah. What is Berchat? Before you do a mitzvah, you're supposed to make a bracha. Before you do a mitzvah, you're supposed to make a bracha. So before you tie the knot of the tefillin, you make a bracha. Before you blow the shofar, before you put on the talis, before you shake the lulav and esrik, you're supposed to make a bracha. So Berchat HaMitzvah, that comes before you do the mitzvah.
Are there any brachot ha-mitzvah for women? Specifically?
For women?
All the ones you mentioned are for men.
What when they bake? Well, the 3 mitzvahs that speak to women: Chana, Chala, Nida, Hadlaka Saner. The 3 mitzvahs that speak to women, the Rosh Hashanah is Chana, Chala, Rivka, Nida, Hadlaka Saner. What does Chala mean? When the lady bakes Chala, she makes the bracha when she separates Chala. Nida, when she goes to the mikvah, she makes a bracha on the mikvah, right? And Hadlaka Saner. Right, men can also bake challah, and men can also what? Light the candles. Right, okay. But those 3 speak to women. The Mishnah in Shabbos says, those 3 speak to women. The question is why? Zisel made a great point. She says, Nida can only be done by women. But challah and Hadlakas Haner, a man can do it too. So why is it given over to women? That's a great question. Why does the Mishnah Shabbos say that these three mitzvahs speak to women? Chala, Nida, Adlakas Haner. The answer is that you want to sum up the entire Jewish religion. You want to sum it up in 3 words? It's Chala, Nida, Adlakas Haner. I'll prove it to you. Any mitzvah in the Torah, the tafkid is either Kidushas Haguf, Kidushas Hazman, or Kidushas Hamakom. Any of the Taryag mitzvot, the purpose is either to sanctify the person, to sanctify time, or to sanctify place. Any of the Taryag mitzvahs fall into that category. You can test me. These 3 mitzvahs are given over to women because these 3 mitzvahs sum up Judaism. Women are more trustworthy. So we were not given that mitzvah. Even though a man can do challah and a man can do adlakas haner, it's given to women. Because those 3 mitzvahs symbolize the Jewish religion, and God says, I trust my women more than my men. And I'll prove it to you. Challah, nida, adlakas, challah. Where's challah usually baked? In the home. So the mitzvah of challah, the lady gets to sanctify the makom. Through the mitzvah of nida, she gets to sanctify her guf. Incredible. Not just my soul is holy, I could make my body holy. My body is not a plaything, it's not a sex object. Through the mitzvah of nida, a woman is saying that my body can become as holy as my soul. The mitzvah of nida, Chava, is Kedushas Haguf. And Adlokas Haner, when a lady lights the Shabbos candle, what's she doing? She's sanctifying time. Kill time, waste time. Through lighting the Friday night candles, Banish, what is the lady saying? Time can be made holy. I'm not going to waste time and kill. I have the power to sanctify time. So these 3 mitzvahs, Elisheva, God says to the menfolk, I don't trust you guys. If I stop the cup, ladies are more like me. Women are more godlike. You make a bracha shasani kertzon, no. God, you made me like you are. So the word shechina, the word neshama, the word Torah, the word mitzvah is all feminine. Shechina. So therefore, these 3 mitzvahs speak to women. They sum up Yahadut in a nutshell. Kedushas Hazman, Kedushas Haguf, and Kedushas Hamakom, which translates into Chala, Nida, Hadlakas Haner. So, getting back to Birchat HaMitzvah.
This lady has a question.
Yes?
Just a comment. A couple of days ago, I read the Midrash of Rabbi Moshe Ashir, who was saying that those 3 mitzvot were also connected to the tikkun, which all Jewish women have to do for the mistake, for the sin of that Chava did.
It's also a tikkun. Good. It's a tikkun.
Just to create Adam HaRishon.
It's the tikkun.
Yeah, the nida with the Lord, I think, and yeah.
But you're right.
Yeah.
What's your name again?
Bracha
Bracha Rivka.
Yeah.
But why? I'll tell you why.
Could you repeat?
Bracha Rivka quoted the Al Shich HaKadosh that Chala Nida Adlokas Haner is a tikkun for the sin that Chava gave the Eitz Hadas to. Why? I'll tell you why, okay? Because if Chava would not have given the Eitz Hadas to Adam, man would have lived forever. That means man would have lived in both worlds simultaneously, where the neshama and the guf would have been what? One forever. But when Chava gave the Eitz Hadas to eat, she created a chasm, Avram, a chasm, that we call death, right? So, why is these 3 mitzvahs Yahadut? Why is Yahadut so focused on sanctifying time, sanctifying place, and sanctifying what? The body. If you look in the Maimonides, he says the main difference between this life and life after death the main difference between this life and life after life, he says, is these three things. Please hear me. In this world, we are confined to a body. I ain't got no body. I got a body. I'm stuck in my body. My neshama is stuck in a body. I'm constricted. And I'm also confined to a place. If I'm here, I'm not next door. And I'm also restricted to time. You know, my man, this physical world, I'm restricted to my body. I'm restricted to my place. And I'm also constricted to time. Time rules over me. But he says, after a Mea Ve'esrim, when the person leaves his bodysuit, he's no longer restricted to his body. He's no longer restricted to time. And he's no longer restricted to what? To place. The neshama floats free. I ain't got no body. So Yahadut, says the Rambam, is focused on these three principles, because when you do Yahadut, you're having an out-of-body experience. Even when you're living in this world, if you do the mitzvah of the Torah, Chala Nida Adlaka Saner, you are having an out-of-body experience. And you're also being ruled over time. Kedushas Hazman. By sanctifying time, you are rising above time. Shabbat is min olam haba. I'm rising above time. And when you go to the mikveh, the lady Nida, she's having an out-of-body experience. And when she does challah, she's sanctifying her place. I'm not stuck in my place. Even though physically it looks like I'm here, but I'm soaring. So Yahadut's purpose is Kedushas Hazman, Kedushas Hamakam, Kedushas Haguf, to connect this physical world with Olam Haba, which is not restricted to time, place, or bodysuit.
And that's the job of a Jew.
The job of the Jew, through his mitzvahs,
we have all those three mitzvahs and a non-Jew doesn't.
He's having an out-of-body experience. But this sums up Judaism. Now, the Berchat HaMitzvah, that has to be done before you do the mitzvah. If you put on tefillin, Chava, and you make a bracha, it's a bracha lavatala. Berchat HaMitzvah, if you shake the lulav and esfik and make a bracha, it's too late now, it's too late. Blessing in vain. If you blow the shofar and make a bracha, blessing in vain. Berchat HaMitzvah has to come before what? The mitzvah. Berchat HaNenin, before you eat the apple, before you smell the rose, you have to make a bracha. If you do it later, it's a bracha lavatola. Berchat Shevach V'Haidaya, Abraham, that comes later, only after I see Niagara Falls, after I see the moon, blue moon, after I see the shooting star, or after I see Niagara Falls or the Grand Canyon, only then can I make a Berchat Shevach V'Haidaya is only made, Avram, after you see the Swiss Alps. But the other type of brachas has to be before, right? Berchat HaMazon, that's the rice. I'm talking about the Rabbanan. Berchat HaMazon you make after you eat, but that's not the Rabbanan. Berchat HaMazon is a Doraita, right?
Therefore, it fits the only one different category.
It's not in the categories because it's a Torah mitzvah. But the other brachas are rabbinic inventions.
Berchat HaMazon is in the past. Achalta, Tzavata.
Ubarachta.
So it's after you eat.
After you eat, right? That's a Torah mitzvah. That's not the rabbinic invention.
And the only bracha in the Torah.
The only bracha, and according to Nachmani, is also Birchat HaTorah also. When Nachmani says the Birchat HaTorah is also what? Is also from the Torah. Is also from the Torah, right?
It doesn't say specifically like it does bracha.
Right, it's a limud. But Birchat HaMazon says clearly.
What's the bracha when you order from Amazon?
What's a bracha? When you order something from Amazon, what bracha? Birchat HaMazon. Ah, thank you. Birchat Amazon. Birchat HaMazon, right? Okay.
Before, in this case.
4 after, right?
No, I think it's after. If you get it, you say the bracha. If you don't get it, then you don't say the bracha.
Right. If you don't get it, you don't get the bracha. No?
Rabbi Sprecher,
Yes.
if you can pick a bracha, I mean, can you pick to say Hashem's name? And you say Baruch Atah B'Tei, not saying Hashem's name.
Then it doesn't count.
No, but
You can say, in order for it to count, you want it to be plugged in. If you're not, if you don't say Hashem's name, you're not plugged in.
Baruch Atah B'Tei,
Baruch
Baruch Atah.
atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam tov v'ametiv.
Or Ashachiyan B'Ki.
Baruch atah Hashem Shechiyonu v'kimonu yonim manazeh.
You can pick.
You can pick. But most people on the first heavy rain that makes them happy, today we make a Shechiyanu instead of tov v'ametiv.
Let's say
I'm
new
telling.
clothes or new house or new something.
So you can make either Shechiyanu or tov v'ametiv. Either or. You have a choice. Either or. Okay? So where was I? If you don't know what bracha to make on a food, so you yotzet shahakol niyeh b'dvaro, right? If you make a shahakol on bread or pizza, you yotze, right? Shahakol niyeh b'dvaro, right? Of course, it's better to make the specific bracha. But if you don't know, you can make a shahakol niyeh b'dvaro. For natural phenomena, like a rainbow, the specific bracha, zoicha brit, for thunder, koichai gavrosim el oilam, for lightning is also masa bereshis, for earthquake there's a specific bracha. But let's say you're not sure. What's the shahakol niyeh b'dvoroi for natural phenomena? Osa masa bereshit. Thunder, lightning, earthquake, we should know from it, Niagara Falls, any natural phenomena, a rainbow, you should say Zoicha Bris, but if you don't remember, if you say Osa Masa Bereshis, Maddie, that's the Shahakol Niyeh B'Dvoroi, thanking God for natural phenomena. So you see beautiful mountains, beautiful valleys and hills. Instead of scratching your head, just say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Oseh Maaseh Bereshis. Oseh Maaseh Bereshis. What does that mean?
Who makes?
Not who makes. Who makes, not who made. But he made it 6,000 years ago, Rachmiel. You say Oseh Maaseh Bereshis. Why, Zisel? Because he's still on and on. He still made. He began 6,000 years ago. But every day he renews it. So the bracha is not in the past he made, it's oseh. Oseh, he's making constantly. The world God is creating it every second. God is a hands-on manager. Right? The world is not an automatic pilot. Okay? So it's oseh. And even the Yam HaGodol, Abraham, you see the Mediterranean, or you see the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean, you should say Yam HaGodol. But let's say you forgot. What bracha can you make, Avram? Oseh Maaseh Bereshis. You see the Yam HaGodol, or the Atlantic or Pacific, you say Oseh Maaseh Bereshis, you're covered. That's the blanket for all beautiful natural phenomena. Oseh Maaseh Bereshis. What?
Did you say that bracha?
No, food is shahakol. That's the blanket bracha for food is shahakol, but the blanket bracha for natural phenomena is the oseh maaseh. That covers it all. God constantly makes wondrous creation.
You see a beautiful person, you can say that too.
A beautiful person.
Or an 8 foot tall person.
Amishana habriot, what?
600,000 years ago.
Okay. That's a whole special bracha you make, the Shevach v'Hidayah. Now, if you go to the zoo once in 30 days, and you see, according to the Meiri, if you go to the zoo once in 30 days, and you see elephants or monkeys, you should say, Oseh Maaseh Bereshis. Why dafke elephant and monkeys? So the Meiri says something incredible. Elephants and monkeys have intelligence, almost memory, intelligence, almost like a human being.
How do you know that?
How did the Meiri know that? But now scientists know that.
Have you ever known an elephant to forget it?
An elephant
Chris, what is he after?
They have intelligence almost like a human being, but they have no soul. That's Mishana Habriot. But the other poskim say any wonderful creature, not just elephants or monkeys, like a peacock. If you're really impressed with any creature in the zoo, once in 30 days you should say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Mishana Habriot. Question. A bracha between man and God, you make a mitzvah between man and God, tefillin, mezuzah, shofar, sukkah, a mitzvah between man and God before you make a bracha. What about tzedakah and kibbut of the aim? Why don't you make a bracha on that?
Oh, you give it.
Why don't you make a bracha on mitzvah and adam lechavero? You hear the question? Giving tzedakah and honoring your parents is greater than putting on tefillin. You heard what I said, Chava? So what am I chopped liver? So when you honor your parents, or when you give tzedakah, you visit a sick person in the hospital, you're doing a greater mitzvah than shaking a lulav. So how come there's no bracha? Oh, so Banish gave the answer. That happened to me. Remember, the bracha has to be made before you do the mitzvah. Matt, it happened to me in Gula, I'm not joking. I gave a guy a half a shekel, and he threw it back at me. And it hit me in the forehead, I remember. It hit me in the forehead, I got a strong head, it bounced off. So if I would have made the bracha levatala. So the Kesef Mishnah says in the Rambam Hilchas Brachos, therefore Chazal were not metakein bracha adam lechaveroi, because you have to interact with the other guy. And the bracha has to be made before the mitzvah, right? Your father says, go get me a glass of water, right? You come back, he says, I'm not thirsty. Forget about it. It's a blessing in vain.
So what's the big deal?
You made a bracha levatala. It's a bracha levatala. Don't take God's name in vain, right? You go visit a sick person, make a bracha. I don't want to see you now. Or he's in the bathroom. Or he's out to lunch in the x-ray room. Or he went home. Happened to me once. I went home, right? He went home. So therefore, any mitzvah, we have to interact with the other guy, and the other guy might refuse, Chava. Chazal say, take no prisoners. Take no chances. You still get the mitzvah anyway. A guy puts on tefillin for 100 years. He blows shofar for 100 years and never makes a bracha. He still gets the mitzvah of tefillin and shofar and sukkah. He just loses the rabbinic mitzvah of what? A bracha, that's all. He still gets the mitzvah. So you still get the mitzvah by giving tzedakah, honoring your parents, visiting the sick, but you're not making a suffix, maybe it'd be a bracha levatala, because the other person might refuse the favor, and then you're left with taking God's name in vain. The Rambam says that you make a bracha levatala, you're taking God's name in vain, one of the 10 commandments. Therefore, suffix brachas lahakel. If you're in doubt whether you made a bracha or not, if you're in doubt, do without. Don't do it. Because the bracha is only the Rabbanan. Taking God's name in vain is a doraita. So therefore, the principle is any suffix, whether should I make the bracha, or if I make or I didn't make, I forgot, do not repeat. The only one you repeat is Berchat HaMazon. Right? If you're not sure whether you benched or not, you repeat, because that's the Raisa. But all the other brachas, if you're not sure what to say, or if you said it, don't say it. Because you might be playing around with taking God's name in vain.
Okay.
Which one?
Shema.
The Berchat Shema, if you're not, Shema is the Raisa, but the brachas are the Rabbanon. So if you're not sure if you said Shema, you have to repeat it, because that's the Raisa. If you're not sure if you said Shemon Esrei, you do not repeat it, Shirley. Don't argue with the rabbi. If you're not sure if you said Shema, you have to repeat it, because Shema is the Raita. If you're not sure whether you said Shemon Esrei, you do not repeat it, because Shemon Esrei is the Rabbanan. Safik the Rabbanan L'Kula. That's also the Rabbanan. That's Rabbanan. So if you're not sure, you repeat the Shema, but the Berchat Shema you do not repeat, because that's only the Rabbanan. Safik the Raita L'Chumra, Safik the Rabbanan L'Kula. Yeah, yeah.
If a person gives tzedakah, you have kibbut over aim. That's a schus.
It's a schus. So why don't you make a bracha?
You can do it once. So why should you
a bracha if you have a zchus?
Because the other person might refuse the favor. And then you're making a blessing in vain. So the rabbis say,
So you don't.
so you don't make a bracha, but you still get the mitzvah. You still get the mitzvah, right?
But it's a zchus anyway.
It's a great mitzvah. Ben Adam Mechaveiro is greater than Adam Makayim. Because when you do a favor to a fellow human being, you're also doing a favor to what? It's a twofer. Right? You do a favor to a mensch, you're doing a favor for Kodesh Baruch Hu too, who created the mensch. You're doing a favor for his Tzelem Elohim, his Chelek Elohim Yimal. So every favor that you do for a human being, it's also a mitzvah for Hashem. It's twice as good. Yeah. Thursday we begin at 2:30 because Thursday there's a movie. So we have a shiur, that's the second feature. The shiur is at 2:30, right after the movie on Thursday at 2:30. Thank you.